Hey, what's going on guys? It's Harry here. In this video I kind of want to go over my experience for my powerlifting meet this weekend. Something I've never done before. Just kind of want to go through the entire day from pretty much the time I woke up to the time that I hit my last deadlift, or even up until awards. And just kind of a video just going over everything, and it might help you guys out if you're planning on doing a powerlifting meet anytime soon, or if you're even thinking about it, just to kind of have an idea of what an athlete or lifter goes throughout the course of a day of competing in a powerlifting meet. So one last thing I want to mention before getting into the video is, out of the 4 competitions I've done since the middle of 2013, which was my first, up until this one, it's been pretty much different experiences every single time. So just the speed, the rate at which all the lifters are going through all their lifts, and from the time you hit your squats to your benches to your deadlifts, it all kind of varies. The first meet that I did, the entire meet, I think we started lifting at 3 and finished up around 9 or 10, which was pretty insane. But this meet, as you guys will see, was a lot faster than that. Something I'm not used to, but I don't think it negatively impacted my performance, which is definitely a good thing. So hope you guys enjoy the video. Don't forget to leave it a like and a comment if you guys did enjoy it, and we'll get right into it. Alright, so the day started off pretty early at around 5:50 a.m. It's when I set my alarm for. Weigh-ins were set for 7 a.m., so pretty early, but again, I was in the morning session. There was also an afternoon session, and just wanted to make sure, I got up a little bit earlier just to make sure that I had everything ready to head over there and be pretty much first in line for weigh-ins, which is where you want to be, especially for USAPL, because it's only a 2-hour weigh-in. So you really want to make sure that you have time to drink water and eat some food before having to warm up for your squats, and you want to make sure that it's digested, so it's not just sitting in your stomach. So I was the second or third person in line, and I ended up weighing in at 92.2 kilograms, which was a little bit over a pound below the 205 pound weight class. So immediately after weighing in, I pounded a Pedialyte, which is pretty much just it's a bunch of potassium. It's a lot more electrolytes than in Gatorade. It has a lot more potassium and less sodium than Gatorade does, and it's also pretty low carb, which doesn't really matter to me. I wanted to get the carbs in anyway. And right after I finished that, I had 2 peanut butter sandwiches on some cinnamon raisin bread, and then I had a kashi bar, just a granola bar. I'm really not used to eating that much before lifting. I usually train fasted in the morning, so I thought that would be enough food to kind of get some energy in me, but not fill up my stomach too much. And then pretty much immediately after I finished that, by this time it was 7:30 or not even that, so half hour after weigh-ins and still an hour and a half until I had to start lifting. And after that I just started sipping on some Gatorade. I mixed some Gatorade powder into my water bottle and just pretty much sipped on that throughout the entire day, and especially after weighing in. After I weighed in at about 7 a.m., like I said, I went to the bathroom in the gym, which is where the meet was, not at the hotel, which was kind of nice. I went to the bathroom and weighed myself, and I think I was 94 kilograms, which is pretty much exactly where I wanted to be, because that's where I'm used to training. That's my training weight. So I was happy to get a good 4 pounds in me before starting to warm up for squats and getting into lifting. So I started warming up for squats at about 8:45, and my opener was a little bit later in the flight. There's only 1 flight on each platform at this meet, which was again a little bit of a different experience for me. I'm used to 2 or 3 flights per platform. So what a flight is, it's just a group of usually about 15 to 20 lifters that will all lift at the same time. So all those 15 or 20 people will hit their opener, and then they'll recycle and hit their second attempt, and then again and hit their third, and then they'll move on to a different flight, which will be an entirely different 15 to 20 people. So the people in the first flight will be pretty much resting during that period. But there was only 1 flight on each platform, so once we all finished, we all just kind of moved into the next lift. So I wasn't really used to that, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So I started warming up at about 8:45. My opener was a little bit later in the flight just because it was a little bit heavier. It's usually based on the weights get progressively heavier so that the loaders aren't constantly putting weight on and off the bar. So it's just the lightest to the heaviest in that flight. So I started warming up at 8:45 again for the third time, and I hit my first squat at around 9:15. So my opener was 435 pounds. It moved really well. I unracked the weight, and you could see in the video that right as I'm like getting under the bar before I actually unrack the weight, I'm like burping, trying to get some gas out of my stomach and just like out of my GI tract, because again, I'm not used to eating breakfast, and I had 2 peanut butter sandwiches and a granola bar, and just not something that I'm used to. So I was feeling a little bit gassy pretty much the entire day, but it didn't really affect my performance. So moving into my second squat, 457 pounds, I thought that that moved even faster. I thought that moved even faster than the 435 pound squat, which I was happy about. My technique felt a lot more solid on that lift, and that was about 5 to probably less than 10 minutes after my opener, which is pretty much what it's like in every competition. That's the point in the flight, so you're not waiting 20 minutes between attempts. So again, it was like 5 to 10 minutes, and then we went up to 490 pounds for my third attempt, and that even moved pretty well. A little bit of a, you could see a little bit of a sticking point, just like right after my stretch reflex out of the bottom, but really no problem, and I definitely had some more weight in me, but that was already like my previous meet PR was 435 pounds, which is what I opened with at this meet, so pretty significant PR for squats, so I was really happy with that, even though I probably had some more in me. So at this point, by the time I finished my squats, it was like 9:45, so really only had been 45 minutes since the start of the meet and 30 minutes since I started lifting. So after squats finished up, I just went to go talk to my parents who were sitting out like in the audience, and then I went to the bathroom just to go pee, and by the time I got back, it was probably about 10, so like 10-15 minutes later, and it was already time to warm up for bench. It was actually a little bit kind of late for me to start warming up for bench, and I was definitely rushed during my bench warm-ups. They took like a 15-minute break in between each lift, but it definitely wasn't long enough for, at least for me, to think about getting my warm-ups in and then get ready to hit my opener on the platform. So at this point, I took a caffeine pill, 200 milligrams. I also took one at the start of squats, 200 milligram caffeine pill, and I was sipping on Gatorade the entire time. And I hit my last opener for bench press, which was 275 pounds, and I hit that like 2 to 3 minutes before my opener because, like I said, I was rushed because I wasn't used to having such a short amount of time in between lifts. But still hit my opener pretty well of 303 pounds. The judges were actually giving pretty much everyone a hard time on the platform. The side judges were really like taking a point to look at, make sure that your head was on the bench, shoulders were on the bench, butt was on the bench, and heels were planted flat on the floor. I didn't really have an issue with that just because my technique is pretty like strict to the USAPL IPF rules, but there were a lot of people who were having trouble like even getting their heels down and getting them to stay down, and they ended up like sitting there with their arms extended with the bar for I'd say about like 15 to 20 seconds, which was pretty crazy. And holding the bar out like that is definitely going to tax you before going into your lift. But 303 moved really well. Moved up to 314, which was not my planned second. My planned second was 320, but if you guys remember one of the videos the other day, it didn't move really well in the gym, so I was happy to settle with the 314 for my second attempt, and that moved pretty well. We took the smallest jump that you could take, which is a 2.5 kilogram jump, which is about 5 pounds, and bumped it up to 320, and I ended up missing that. It was probably just a combination of hitting 315 or 314 before that, and I always find competition benching a lot harder than benching in the gym, and it's just something I've always struggled with. I've never gone 3 for 3 on bench in competition, so I really wasn't surprised that I missed my third. But again, it was only a 2.5 kilogram jump, so really had nothing to complain about since I already hit 314, which is a solid number for me. So bench press finished at about 10:45, so this was about 30 to 45 minutes after the start of bench and about an hour and a half after we started lifting in general. So really not that long, not that much time from that it took to complete squats and bench. So again, I had enough time to pretty much go to the bathroom and pee, and then I was right back at it for deadlifts. Came back and had a caffeine pill, which puts me at 600 milligrams of caffeine for the day within like less than 2 hours, which I'm definitely not used to, but it didn't really affect me too bad. I didn't like kind of crash or anything from it, and didn't feel too like high from it, which was a good thing. And again, sipping on Gatorade the whole time. So I started warming up at about 11, and my opener was coming up pretty quick. I opened up at 11:15, so I warmed up to like 495 pounds on deadlift in pretty much like 10 minutes, which wasn't that bad because I was already still warm from my squats and bench, but just a little bit more rushed than I'm used to. So I hit 540, which moved really well. I was really happy with it. Deadlifts, I'm usually pretty good in competition. Unlike bench, just because there's so many commands that are involved in bench, between bench, press, and rack. For deadlift, they just say the bar is loaded, put their arm out, and it's up to you to go out on the platform within your allotted time, which is a minute, and pull the weight until they give you the down command, and then you just put it down. The ground was actually pretty bouncy, if you guys could tell in the videos, and it looked like I was dropping the bar a lot harder than I thought I was, and forgot to let it down a little bit easier on my second, which was 468 pounds. So at the previous meet that I did in August 2015, I hit 473, or 573. Yeah, I don't know why I said, it was 568 was my second attempt, and I hit 573 at the meet in last August, and that moved probably faster than the 468 did in competition, this past competition, but still moved really well. I left my third deadlift attempt selection up to my coach Joe, who was there handling me, and when he submitted my third attempt, I didn't even ask him what it was, because I knew that if it was 600 pounds, it was going to mess with me a little bit in my head, but it didn't, or just so that I didn't want to know how much weight it was, so it didn't affect me. I just went out there and pulled the weight. It moved pretty well, grinded it just a little bit, but definitely could have grinded a little bit more weight, I think. But it ended up being 595 pounds. There was really no point in me going for 600, just because it wouldn't have put me at a 1,400 pound total, which was one of my goals, and it wouldn't have put me at a 400 Wilks score, which was another one of my goals. But overall, it was in like my best competitive experience by far. I ended up hitting a 72 pound meet PR and still had some weight left in the tank on squats and deadlifts. So I'm really looking forward to my next competition. Deadlifts finished up at around 11:45. So overall, the entire competition from my first squat to my last deadlift was 2.5 hours, which, not that my training sessions are that long, but if a training session ended up being that long, I wouldn't think they would be that long. So usually meets are a lot longer than 2.5 hours. I thought that, or like looking back, you would think that doing all those lifts in 2.5 hours would kind of affect me a little bit more than it did, but it didn't, and my performance was really good, and maybe that was one of the reasons, because definitely stayed a lot warmer the entire time. I know that at past meets we've had to like re-warm up pretty much everything between attempts, especially re-warming up for deadlifts after squatting like 2 or 3 hours beforehand, but at this competition I stayed warm the entire time and just started working with the bar. I didn't really have to do any like lower body flexibility work or anything like that, so this was an awesome day, my best meet experience so far, and ended up taking second place in the junior 93 kilogram weight class, which is good because I took third at my last meet, so now I have a bronze medal and a silver medal, so all I need is a gold medal now, which I definitely think I can get at my next competition, depending on what the competition is like. But my performance, I feel, has a lot of room to increase, which I'm really happy about, and hopefully at my next competition I'll break some milestone PRs like a 500 squat, 600 deadlift. Bench, I have no idea what I'm going to hit. Really need to work on my technique on that, but even hitting a 1,400 total and a 400 Wilks score, which would be pretty awesome for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, a little bit different than anything I've done in the past. If you guys have any questions like about what to expect for your first meet experience, definitely let me know. Not that I've done a lot of meets, but I feel like you have to go in knowing a little bit about how to plan your warm-ups and everything. So again, thanks guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one.